You're standing in the middle of Tudor England. You're wearing your favorite shirt. You just had a shower. You ate a steak for lunch. And you're about to kick a soccer ball around with your friends. Congratulations. You're going to jail for all of that. Okay, so here's the thing. We take a lot of stuff for granted, like being clean, wearing whatever we want, playing sports, reading books. Pretty basic stuff, right? But 500 years ago, all of that could land you in jail, or worse. And I'm not talking about obviously bad things. I'm talking about completely normal activities that modern humans do every single day without thinking twice. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through 10 everyday things that were straight up illegal 500 years ago. And by the end, you're gonna realize that if you time traveled back to the 1500s, you'd be arrested within like an hour. Let's go. Alright, first up, playing football. You know, soccer. The most popular sport on the planet. Loved by billions. The thing kids play in every park, every street corner, every random field everywhere. Yeah, that was illegal. In medieval England, if you organized a football match, you could be fined or thrown in jail. Why? Because English kings were obsessed with archery. See, back then, archery wasn't a hobby, it was national defense. Every man was legally required to practice shooting a longbow, because England needed a ready supply of archers in case of war. But football was distracting, it was chaotic, it was violent. Entire villages would play these massive, unstructured games that could last hours, and the government was like, hey, stop having fun, go shoot arrows. And here's the kicker, nobles could still play, because of course they could. The ban was specifically for commoners. Peasants playing football? Criminal. Rich guy playing football on his private estate? Totally fine. So yeah, your Sunday league? Illegal. But wait. It gets worse, because football wasn't the only game that could get you arrested. In fact, pretty much any form of fun was illegal if you were poor. In 1541, Henry VIII, yes, that Henry VIII, passed something called the Unlawful Games Act. And this law made it illegal for servants, laborers, and apprentices to play cards, dice, bowling, or tennis. The official reason? Archery training again. But the real reason was class control. Because rich people could play these games whenever they wanted. But if you were a commoner, fined, punished, banned. Oh, and by the way, Henry VIII loved bowling. He had private bowling alleys built, so he literally banned a game that he personally enjoyed. The hypocrisy is chef's kiss. Now, there was one exception, Christmas. On Christmas Day, servants were allowed to play games, but only inside their master's house. So you could have fun for exactly one day a year, and only if your boss said it was okay. Generous. Next one, and this is where things get wild. Wearing the wrong clothes. Not like wearing a costume to the wrong event. I mean wearing any fabric or color that didn't match your social class. Because in the 1500s, what you wore wasn't just fashion, it was law. In England, commoners were not allowed to wear silk, velvet, satin, or purple dye. Those were reserved for the wealthy. If you showed up in the wrong outfit, you could be fined, publicly humiliated, or have your clothes confiscated. And this wasn't just England. In Ming Dynasty China, silk was restricted to elites. In the Aztec Empire, cotton clothing was illegal for commoners. Only nobles could wear it. And in some cultures, breaking these laws could get you killed. Your outfit could get you executed. So the next time you complain about a dress code, just remember, at least your t-shirt won't get you arrested. Okay, so we're halfway through, and I just want to pause for a second, because look at this list so far. Sports, games, clothes, these are things we do without thinking. And 500 years ago, all of them could ruin your life. But it gets weirder. Because some of these laws weren't even about power or control, they were about fear. Alright, this one's my favorite. Bathing too often. After the Black Death swept through Europe, people became terrified of water. They believed that water opened your pores and let disease into your body. So public bathhouses were shut down, and frequent bathing became suspicious. If you bathed too much, people thought you were vain, immoral, or get this, a prostitute. In some towns, neighbors would literally report you if you heated water too often. So instead of bathing, people just wiped themselves down with dry cloths and used a lot of perfume, which honestly explains a lot about history. So, yeah, being clean? Suspicious. Maybe illegal. Definitely weird. Okay, this next one is darker. Reading the Bible. In early 1500s England, owning a Bible in English could get you imprisoned or executed. And even after English Bibles became legal, there were strict rules about who could read them. Noblemen? Allowed. Merchants? Private reading only. Women, servants, and laborers? Forbidden. because the government didn't want people interpreting scripture for themselves. Independent thought was dangerous. It challenged authority. So if you were a commoner who wanted to understand your own religion, you had to rely on someone else to tell you what it said. And if you tried to read it yourself, crime. Alright, let's lighten it up a little. Eating meat on the wrong day. In England, eating meat on Fridays or during Lent was illegal. If you got caught, you'd be fined. Now the official reason was religious. But the actual reason? The fishing industry. See, England needed a strong navy, and the navy needed sailors, and sailors came from the fishing industry. So by forcing people to eat fish, the government was basically subsidizing the navy. Your steak dinner was a threat to national defense. And of course, rich people could buy exemptions. Poor people couldn't. So once again, the law applied to you if you're broke, and didn't apply if you had money. Seeing a pattern here? Okay. This one's unhinged. Gossiping. Specifically, if you were a woman accused of gossiping or being too loud, you could be legally labeled a common scold. And the punishment? An iron muzzle called a scold's bridle. They'd lock it onto your head and parade you through town. This wasn't a social insult. This was a real crime with real torture devices. So if you had opinions and you expressed them loudly, you could be publicly humiliated and literally silenced. Fun times. Alright, we're almost done. And this one might be the darkest. Hunting for food. Oil forests belonged to the king. And if you killed a deer, or even caught a rabbit to feed your family, you could be executed, even during famines. Even when people were starving, the punishment was mutilation or death. But nobles? They could hunt the same animals whenever they wanted, so you could watch your family starve. And if you tried to feed them, you'd be killed for it. And speaking of poverty, being homeless was illegal. Under Tudor vagrancy laws, if you were unemployed for more than a few days, you could be whipped, branded, or forced into labor. Repeat offenders, executed. And if you helped a homeless person, you could be punished too. Poverty wasn't a tragedy, it was a crime. Last one, walking around at night. After the evening curfew bell, streets were cleared, fires were put out, and if you were caught outside without permission, you'd be arrested. Night walking was associated with crime, rebellion, or immoral behavior. So going for a walk? Illegal. Just standing outside your own house at night. Crime. So yeah, that's 10 completely normal things that could have destroyed your life 500 years ago. And the thing is, most of these laws weren't about safety. They were about control. Controlling what you did, what you wore, what you believed, who you talked to, and a lot of them only applied if you were poor. So the next time someone says things were better back then, just send them this video. If you made it this far, leave a comment and tell me which one of these surprised you the most, or which one you would have definitely been arrested for. And if you want more weird history stuff like this, I've got a video coming next week about jobs in history that were basically death sentences. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.